my name is Sierra Presbisona, and I was a Kaz-10 TEVA volunteer, 0102, and I was in Urals, Kazakhstan. What I really enjoyed about my experience was that I got to show people that not all Americans are blonde, blue-eyed. And because I always got those questions, they're like, how can you be American? I'm like, well, my mother is from the Philippines, my father is from Chile, but I was born in the United States, and technically my nationality is American. And it was great because I was able to talk about the different ethnicities there in Kazakhstan as well. So it was a lot of fun to bring that out. And it's a good thing I like to sing, because in Kazakhstan, anywhere we would go, oh, please sing for us. So I had a really great time.
My name is Perry Teicher. I was in Kazakhstan from 2007 to 2009. Peace Corps volunteers from Kazakhstan, you know, it's often called Posh Corps, right? Because we're not, when people think about Peace Corps, usually it's about Africa. And then the second they think about is usually South America, and then Eastern Europe, and then there's other parts where Peace Corps is, but then it's sort of like Central Asia. And when we would talk to people, they'd be like, "Oh, you're in Central Asia. That's not really Peace Corps." And it is, and every Peace Corps experience is very different. But it's just, I found when talking to friends that were in Peace Corps, it's not usually what people think of as an area that Peace Corps is in. And we flew in on one of the airlines, and it's a nice airport. So we weren't expecting that, first of all. And we get on the buses and we go to a ski resort in the mountains, because Almaty is in the Tian Shan mountains. And it's night, so we all go to sleep. And I was actually rooming with a Michigan State guy who I was rooming with during staging in DC. And this was just by coincidence that ended up happening. So we wake up in the morning, and the Kazakh X Games are going on. There are kids on skateboards that are, you know, on half pipes right outside where we're eating. The TV, there's a flat screen TV in our dining room that's showing like rap videos. This was not what we expected from going to Kazakhstan, right? We didn't really know what to expect. We knew that we weren't expecting rap videos on flat screen TVs with teenage skateboarders and luxury SUVs outside where we were doing training. But so I lived with a Kazakh woman, and she was wonderful, Bayan, and she spoke no English. And I, at this point, spoke no Russian. And we learned Russian and Kazakh. Kazakh is a Turkic language, and Russian is Russian. So there's no relation between these languages. And she made borscht, like a beet soup. And it was like the second day. And so we had Russian lessons. And I knew that the word for spoon is loshka, and the word for horse is loshid in Russian. And she prepared the borscht. It was a small kitchen that was, like, you could spread your arms around, and that would be the whole kitchen. And she made borscht. She put the bowl in front of me, and I couldn't find the spoon. And I was repeating the words. I need to say, "Mozhna loshka," can I have a spoon? But the words that came out were "Mozhna loshid," can I have a horse? And she just looks at me and says in very fast Russian, "Perry, why do you want a horse? Perry, почему ты хочешь лошадь?" And I'm like, what did she just say? Oh, so I didn't know how to say, I want to eat the soup, so I just sort of pantomimed it. And she said, "Oh, Perry, ty хочешь ложка. Perry, you want a spoon. Tomorrow we'll have horse." Because horse is sort of a main meat product in Kazakhstan. And I mean, that set the tone for living with her. It was just so, she had this great attitude. And I was able to laugh at the fact that I was speaking like a, you know, 1-year-old at this point. Bayan and I are sitting at the table, and this is like the same day or the day after, and we're going through pictures of her family, and I'm smiling because I don't really know what she's saying, and she's pointing, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then she shows a picture of who I gather is her son, and like I'm smiling, like, oh, that's, you know, that's great, he looks really nice. And she gets really sad, and I realize that when I look up from the picture and look at her face, and we keep going through, and I don't really know what to say at this point. I don't know how to say, I'm sorry, I don't know what she's really trying to say. And I ask our LCF, our language and cultural facilitator, who was our Russian teacher and our cultural guy, Uzbek guy, Shirley, and he talks to her later and says her son died a year ago, and he would have been 25 this year, and his birthday is like next week. And it was just one of those moments of, I didn't know what was going on, and I felt so bad in that I was smiling when she was describing her son who had died not that long ago and who was basically my age. And she came to sort of adopt me not as like a replacement for her son, but I know that it was really nice for her that I was there and able to spend time with her. And it was really nice for me too that she wanted to be open like that. I've only been back in the States for 6 months now, because I traveled. I finished my service in November 2009, but then traveled for 4 months. So I didn't get back to America till March of 2010. So I still feel this very deep sense of connection to both the community, because it's still close, and I don't want that to drift away. I want to do other things with my life besides be a Peace Corps volunteer, but sort of what I saw from that community, they were doing such great things. I don't want to abandon that and then 10 years later to check up and see what happened. I want to retain some sort of connection that I can continue to contribute to help them. And I think that there's a lot that I can continue to learn from the work that they're doing there, and a lot of lessons that any type of organization can learn from the work that's being done over there. I'm a big proponent of more effective skill sharing across borders. I felt a lot that there was a sense of Peace Corps volunteers. So this is a little switch, but Peace Corps volunteers have certain roles that they're within the country, and the host country nationals have certain roles, and that there's differences in those roles, and there are, but I found for me the reason I was able to be very effective in my work was because I didn't, I was told this was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. I didn't look at, when I left the office, my day was done, and I didn't look at that if my counterpart couldn't get a detail of the grant proposal written that we had originally talked about that was her responsibility, that I should just abandon, say, I'm going to go out with friends, that I'm committed to doing something here, and they're committed, they're living here, this is their life. This is my life too now. This isn't me coming in, swooping in and saying, hi, it's great to be here for 6 hours a day, I'm going to leave and go drinking with friends. It's me being here and I'm a part of this. And I felt sort of trying to break down that barrier of this is clearly my job, this is clearly your job, and we can't overstep this, to we're working together, we both have different skills, we're both, it's very fluid. It was much more effective. I was an organizational community assistance volunteer, so I was assigned to an organization for people with disabilities. And while there I had two main projects. One was building the first wheelchair factory in Central Asia, and the second was developing a volunteer club. After the wheelchair dancing. So the wheelchair dancing was absolutely wonderful. I had never danced the waltz before, but the director of my organization said, Perry, you're dancing the waltz. I said, great, I would love to. And the girl, Vika, had been paralyzed since her senior prom, and she told this story to one of the newspapers, and I hadn't heard it until I was talking with her. She felt that the dancing competition that we were in was like revisiting a second chance for her senior prom. She was in a car accident that night and never got to go to the dance. And so for me, it was great to be able to be in this dance competition, to do this. For her, it was her chance to have a prom, and we had lessons every day like for those probably 2 months, not every day, but often for those 2 months, and practiced and got there and danced, and I mean that was amazing.
I'm Jessie Colvin. I was in Kazakhstan in 2008 and 2009, and I was in Karaganda. I remember writing back home that I needed my parents to send me the warmest mittens they could possibly find, because I would walk to the well with my family and my hands would be frozen by the time I got back.
So Kazakhstan was a very cold place.
Yes, very cold.
And so the gloves helped?
Yes, they saved my fingers.
Great, okay, thank you.